Welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee. I'm your host, Rick Alexander. You guys can interact with me or follow me at @RickAlexander_ or at the Morning Coffee Podcast on Instagram. Now, if you're getting a lot from this show, if it's changing your life or even changing the way that you look at your life, it would mean the world to me if you would head to iTunes and give us a 5-star review so that we can continue to climb the charts and get this information to more and more people. Over the last year and a half, I've focused my work on the story that we tell ourselves about our lives. Your entire life is a bit of a story that you're telling yourself. And if you could tell yourself a different story, you could probably change your life quite a bit. And so I did that work for the release of my newest book, which is coming out in early 2020. But getting excited for that release, I actually wanted to go through a lot of the information that I had learned, a lot of my notes, and synthesize it into maxims, which is what we're getting into today. I've got 21 maxims to maximize your life, and what these are is just things that seem to be true about the human experience. And if you could understand how they are true, you could understand how they could change your life. And so if you go to rickalexander.com, what you're going to find is if you click on articles, the maxim of the day is going to be posted, whatever the last maxim was, and it's also going to have journal entries and thought experiments in there so that you can figure out how to apply these things to your own lives. And so a bit of an interactive experience. So throughout the next year, through my speaking, through my book release, and through these maxims, I'm excited to see how this information can really change the world and change your world if you give it an opportunity to. One of the focuses of my work in the last year and a half has been on the moment. And of course, there's not some new wisdom that says the moment is where you should be. But as humans, we are constantly at the mercy of our thoughts about what's transpired and what has yet to come, right? And so regardless of the fact that the present moment almost always contains everything that we need to know, we still find ourselves in these loops of thought, which is why I continuously talk about coming back to the moment. Because where you are, whatever moment you're in, whatever season in life you're in, whatever time period you're in, wherever your feet are right now, it actually offers you far more information that you can use to change your life than where you're not. Yet, when we're dealing with things that we can't make sense of or things that we are afraid of in some way, we're scavenging the past and the future for information. Now, the past, of course, that's got information. And so if we look back to one of the earliest maxims that we talked about was the fact that the past does have information and it can be useful to you if you can distance yourself from it, if you can take the emotion out of the equation, because information without objectivity is really can't be trusted. You can't tell if it's accurate. And so a lot of us are spending our time sort of thinking through the past and thinking through the future, but because we don't have any objectivity to that information, it's not accurate. It's not teaching us what we need to know to be here now. And what you really want is information that teaches you how to be here now, because you're here now. And fundamentally, you're always here now. And so that's why it's so important that you scan the present moment for the information that you need, because oftentimes where we are tells us exactly what we need to know. I always find it striking that we have this immense opportunity to improve the quality of our lives, and that all we have to do is be right where we are and be the absolute best at that thing. And if you think that's not true, then live your life being the absolute best at where you are at. And I mean it, like as an experiment. Consider consciously giving everything you have to where you are and see how that works out for you. When you live this way, you see how odd yet also tragic it is that we would ever wish for anything other than this moment. As you start to engage with reality in a place that your feet actually are, then you start to realize, like, this is everything that I've been missing in my life. Like all of the things that I think are going to complete me and the things that I think I need and the marketers that I listen to and the propaganda that I listen to about how I'm not good enough and I'm not complete and I need something else to be whole. Like as you listen to all that stuff, what's interesting is if you ever return to the moment and you just become the absolute best at being in this moment that you possibly can be, and you maximize it, you guard yourself against negative thoughts, like you do really all that you can right now, what you realize is all of those things in the future are unnecessary. Like you don't need them. You don't need something to put your hope in, because what you have right now is actually enough. But what happens is we still have this thinking brain, and it's hellbent on analyzing and worrying. And I suppose this is why we can say a million times that life is about the moment, and after each one, someone will say, yeah, but what about the future? Or what about your plans? Or what about your goals? And what I would say is that if you fully maximize the moment, you like really consciously choose to be where your feet are, the future actually takes care of itself as it becomes the present, right? And so that's what you begin to understand. And so this isn't about not setting goals or not like having thoughts for the future. It means that you're not going to solve all of your problems by constantly thinking about the future or the past, right? You're going to solve your problems by being really good where you are right now. And also, you'll find that a lot of the problems that you're beating yourself up about or worrying about actually aren't problems right now. And so there's no reason to worry about them. Again, if you become the best you right now, it changes the landscape in which you're living your life, because a lot of the things we worry about are things that haven't happened or things that already happened. It's like, well, are you maximizing the moment? Because if you are, you might realize that there's actually no need to worry about a lot of those things. And so again, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't use our brains to plan for the future. I'm saying that we shouldn't use our brains for about half of the shit that we actually use our brains for. Your incessant loops of worry don't necessarily count as planning for the future. And so as a rule, we should only worry once we can be sure that we've done everything that we can right now. Do the people you're interacting with know that you love them? Does your partner know beyond the shadow of a doubt that he or she is the most appreciated thing in your life? Are they the most appreciated thing in your life? Does your work get the best from you? Or the stressed out version of you that doesn't really know why they chose their current job? All of these little things, you can't overlook anything. If you're going to choose to live in the moment, then you have to fully embrace it. You have to fully take ownership over it. What you find when you begin to live more presently is that living in a way that you don't want to is damn near unbearable when you're present to every single moment. Right? And so what happens is if you reclaim all of yourself for right now and you really focus on being the absolute best version of yourself in this moment, whatever this moment is for you, then what you find is that some people, they just don't deserve the best version of you. And that's technically true, right? Like, it's like this person is, no matter what I present them with, they're going to tear me down. They're going to not see the light. They're going to look for reasons why these things won't succeed or will fail or whatever it is, right? Like, what you find is that, like, if you really bring yourself into the moment and you allow yourself to sink into the point that your feet are in, well, then you have a very big vested interest in where your feet are and who's around you. And so then you have to begin to clean up your world a little bit. You have to have a little bit of more of a standard for the people that get to be part of your world, you know, because you're left to either enjoy it by taking ownership over it or enjoy it by letting go and pivoting, right? And so you either take this where you're at and you make it the absolute best it can be because that's where you get to be and that's the world you live in, or you just let it go and pivot knowing that sometimes people and things don't deserve the best of us. I know that personally I've been in a few relationships where we were both worried about the future and then chose to let that get the best of our present, right? And so it's like we both had these sort of worries about what was going to transpire in the future. And instead of just like choosing each other in that moment, we end up, again, you're solving for the wrong problem. The problem is you're here now and you got to figure out how to be here now, not later. You can plan for the future. I'm not telling you not to, but what I'm saying is most of the things that you consider planning for the future are just incessant worry that aren't actually going to help you in any way. The question to ask yourself is, are you actually doing all that you can right now? Okay, because if things are wrong, instead of spiraling into loops of worry and metacognition, start doing what you can now. It's far more useful to clean out your cabinets in this moment than to worry about whether or not you'll be able to stick to your diet later. Maximizing the moment always maximizes your life. That's been my experience. I love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day. We'll talk later.